Imagine earning $133,000 a year as a couple, yet stressing over every unexpected bill, living paycheck to paycheck with almost no savings. You're doing everything right, but still drowning. This is the two-income trap. Stick around. It will change how you see your money forever. Let me paint a picture that might feel painfully familiar. They're both working professionals. She's in marketing, pulling in $62,000 a year. He's in IT, making $71,000. Together, their household income hits $133,000. On paper, that puts them solidly in the top 25% of American households. They should be crushing it, maxing out 401(k)s, building a fat emergency fund, taking memorable vacations, and sleeping easy at night knowing they're building real wealth. Instead, they're stressed out, exhausted, and barely scraping by. They've got maybe 2 months of expenses saved, if they're lucky. Last month, when the car needed a $1,200 repair, they had to slap it on a credit card. Both work full-time, often more. They barely see each other during the week except for a few tired hours in the evening before collapsing into bed. And here's the craziest part, they've done everything right. College degrees? Check. Solid careers? Check. Got married, combined finances, bought a house in a decent school district. They followed the modern American success script to the letter. So why does it feel like they're drowning? Why does a six-figure household feel so financially fragile? If you've ever stared at your combined income and thought, we make too much to feel this broke, this video is going to make everything click into place. My name is Bobby, and I spend way too much time thinking about why two-income households today often feel worse off than single-income families from 50 years ago. If you're grinding alongside a partner and can't figure out why it still doesn't feel like enough, hit that subscribe button and drop a thumbs up if this resonates. Let's dive in. The mathematical bait and switch. We've all heard the story, two incomes are better than one. It seems obvious. If one person making $50,000 could support a family back in the day, two people making $50,000 or $60,000 each should support the same family and have an extra $50,000 to $100,000 plus for savings, investments, vacations, and wealth building. Basic addition, right? Except that's not what happened. Instead, we witnessed one of the biggest financial bait and switches in modern American history. The term for this is the two-income trap, coined by Elizabeth Warren, back when she was a Harvard bankruptcy law professor in 2003, long before politics. She and her daughter Amelia Warren Tyagi wrote the book The Two-Income Trap after studying thousands of families who filed for bankruptcy. Their findings were shocking. Having two incomes didn't make families more secure. It often made them more vulnerable. Dual-income families were actually more likely to file for bankruptcy than single-income ones. Let that sink in. You're working twice as hard, bringing home two paychecks, doing everything the economy tells you to do, and you're more likely to lose everything. That's not personal failure. That's a systemic trap. And millions of us are stuck right in the middle of it. The mathematical bait and switch. We've all heard the story, two incomes are better than one. It seems obvious. If one person making $50,000 could support a family back in the day, two people making $50,000 or $60,000 each should support the same family and have an extra $50,000 to $100,000 plus for savings, investments, vacations, and wealth building. Basic addition, right? Except that's not what happened. Instead, we witnessed one of the biggest financial bait and switches in modern American history. The term for this is the two-income trap, coined by Elizabeth Warren, back when she was a Harvard bankruptcy law professor in 2003, long before politics. She and her daughter Amelia Warren Tyagi wrote the book The Two-Income Trap after studying thousands of families who filed for bankruptcy. Their findings were shocking. Having two incomes didn't make families more secure. It often made them more vulnerable. Dual-income families were actually more likely to file for bankruptcy than single-income ones. Let that sink in. You're working twice as hard, bringing home two paychecks, doing everything the economy tells you to do, and you're more likely to lose everything. That's not personal failure. That's a systemic trap. And millions of us are stuck right in the middle of it. 1970, when one income was enough. To understand the trap, we have to go back to 1970. About 43% of women participated in the workforce. The typical middle-class family had one primary breadwinner, usually dad, and one parent at home, usually mom, managing the household. That single income was enough. Not barely scraping by, actually sufficient. Data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics and Census shows a median single-income family could afford a median-priced home, spending roughly 25% of income on housing. Public schools were decent without needing to live in the most expensive zip codes. Basic healthcare, a car, food, clothing, and still room for savings and the occasional vacation. They had margin. Breathing room. Critically, they had a backup plan. If the breadwinner got sick, laid off, or injured, the stay-at-home parent could enter the workforce. That second potential income was like an insurance policy, an emergency reserve. Fast forward to today. Women's workforce participation is around 57% overall, and much higher for married mothers. In over 60% of married couples with children, both parents work. We've turned the emergency backup plan into the default mode. Median household income in recent years has climbed to around $80,000 to $83,000, 2023 to 2024 figures, significantly higher than in 1970 when adjusted for inflation. We're making more on paper. But look at the costs. The exploding fixed costs. Median home prices in 1970, adjusted for inflation, were roughly equivalent to $180,000 to $200,000 in today's dollars. Today, the median home price hovers well over $400,000. Housing has roughly doubled relative to inflation in many analyses. Healthcare spending per household has skyrocketed, increases of hundreds of percent. Childcare, which was minimal when a parent stayed home, now averages around $13,000 per child per year nationally, with much higher costs in big cities, $20,000 to $30,000 plus easily. College costs have exploded over 200% plus since 1980. Property taxes, funding, good schools have driven bidding wars in desirable neighborhoods. All these fixed costs of middle-class life have ballooned, while the extra income from the second earner got completely absorbed. The two-income family today doesn't have double the security of the 1970s single-income family. They often have less, because their expenses expanded to eat both incomes, and they burn their backup plan just to maintain baseline living. Breaking down the second income, where it really goes. You might think, this doesn't apply to us. We're smart. No lifestyle creep. Let's do the honest math anyway. Take a household where one earns $70,000 and the other $50,000, $120,000 combined. Focus on that $50,000 second income. Taxes first. Progressive brackets mean the second income is taxed at higher marginal rates. Federal plus state plus payroll can easily take 30 to 35% or more. So $50,000 becomes $32K, $35K take home. Childcare, average $13,000 per child. For 2 kids? $26,000 plus. For 1 child, it can wipe out a huge chunk. Commuting, 2 cars, gas, maintenance, insurance, depreciation, parking. Easily $5,000 to $10,000 plus extra per year for the second commuter. Convenience and exhaustion costs. Less time for cooking, cleaning, home maintenance. More eating out, delivery, cleaners, pre-made meals, lawn services. Studies show dual-income households spend significantly more here, another $5,000 to $10,000 easily. Added up, after taxes, childcare, extra commuting, and convenience spending, that $50,000 second income can net as little as a few $1,000s, or even go negative in high-cost areas with multiple kids. Someone works full-time, misses family time, fights traffic, for what amounts to pocket change relative to the lifestyle. Yet psychologically, you see the gross $120,000 to $133,000 on paper and spend like it. Banks qualify you for bigger mortgages and loans based on both incomes. You buy the house, cars, and lifestyle that two incomes support, as long as both keep flowing perfectly forever. The real danger: zero margin, no backup. This is where the trap snaps shut. The 1970s single-income family had flexibility. The modern dual-income family has none. Both incomes are fully committed to the monthly nut, big mortgage in a good school district, 2 car payments, childcare, etc. If one loses a job, gets sick, needs to care for a parent, or burns out, the family can't easily maintain those fixed costs. No reserve earner to activate. This explains why Warren's research showed higher bankruptcy risk. Not irresponsibility, but razor-thin margins. A Federal Reserve study found nearly 40% of adults couldn't cover a $400 emergency without borrowing. Many are dual income on paper. Expenses expanded to consume every dollar. One transmission repair away from crisis. These aren't luxury expenses primarily. They're the fixed costs of middle-class participation, housing, education access via location, healthcare, childcare. The bidding war effect. Housing perfectly illustrates it. When two-income families became common, they had more purchasing power for the same houses. Prices bid up. Now, two incomes are the baseline requirement for what one income once bought. An arms race where everyone escalated and nobody won. Same with schools. Good public schools tied to expensive neighborhoods via property taxes. Families bid up homes in desirable districts using dual incomes. The tuition for good schools became embedded in a massive mortgage. Once locked in, you need both incomes forever. You can't downshift easily. Breaking free, build a one-income foundation. So what do? You can't just quit one job tomorrow if the math doesn't work. The mindset shift: treat the second income as temporary, even if it isn't. Build your fixed, non-negotiable expenses so one income alone can cover them comfortably. The second income then becomes fuel for savings, investments, debt payoff, and true wealth. Call it the one-income foundation. Choose a mortgage one income can handle, e.g., covered by $60,000 to $75,000 comfortably. One or no car payment. Live in a good but not elite school area. Prioritize location flexibility and lower fixed costs. Bank the difference from the second income. Emergency fund 3-6+ months, max retirement accounts, then taxable investments. This requires short-term sacrifice. Drive past the bigger house you qualify for. Resist social pressure to upgrade. Explain to family why you're not lifestyle inflating with raises. But the payoff? In 5 to 10 years, compounding kicks in. Investments generate passive income. You gain genuine security and optionality. One partner can step back if needed without catastrophe. Decisions driven by family needs, not mortgage survival. Real-world steps to implement this. 1. Audit your fixed costs ruthlessly. List every recurring expense. Ask, could one income cover 80 to 100% of this? 2. Downsize housing if needed, even if it means moving. The freedom is worth it. 3. Minimize lifestyle creep. Celebrate raises by investing more, not spending more. 4. Boost the second income's efficiency. Negotiate better childcare, remote work to cut commutes, meal prep systems. 5. Build parallel skills. The stay-at-home, or reduced hour, option becomes viable again. 6. Invest aggressively with the surplus. Index funds, retirement accounts, etc. Time and compounding are your allies. 7. Plan for life stages. Childcare costs drop as kids age. Use that window to accelerate wealth. This isn't about going back to 1970 gender roles. It's about choice and resilience. Some families have one high earner plus one at home. Others balance both careers but with lower fixed costs. The key is preserving flexibility. The deeper truth. The two-income trap isn't really about income. It's about flexibility, margin, and options. Our grandparents had the ability to absorb shocks, change direction, or have one parent focus on family without collapse. We've traded that for bigger houses, nicer cars, and the appearance of prosperity. Appearances aren't wealth. High cash flow without margin isn't security. Two incomes aren't better than one if both are already fully spent. The families thriving today aren't necessarily the highest earners. They're the ones who refuse to let expenses consume every dollar. They kept their backup plan in reserve. They built wealth quietly instead of performing prosperity. You can't earn your way out of a trap you don't recognize. Now you see it. The question is, what will you do about it? If this video helped reframe your finances, smash that like button, subscribe for more unfiltered money truth, and share it with a friend who's also grinding in the trap. Drop a comment. What's your biggest fixed cost eating your second income? Let's discuss. Thanks for watching. Build that foundation. Protect your margin. I'll see you in the next one.